You're on mute.
Yeah, sorry. So when it comes to, I get the differences between obviously above the line and below the line, but when it comes to content, like specific,
Yes.
could you perhaps give a bit more examples? Because I remember I was talking to a friend and she told me one time, she's like, wow, it sounds like what you're talking about is scarcity instead of abundance. And so when she said that to me, I was like, oh, that's below the line and above the line, with the specific content that I was talking about in that moment. But as far as if you go from a speaker's standpoint, if you're talking about whatever the topics are, some people talk about the environment, some people talk about technology, some people talk whatever, how can you start to identify when the content itself, if it's not like a motivational type speaker, self-help type of a talk? Is that question clear? Like
Yeah, it makes sense to me. And also I will say that I'm not saying that all of your content needs to be above the line, because a lot of the time your audience may not be above the line and you need to connect with them first. So you need to talk about scarcity to lead them to abundance, as an example, because that was what you had mentioned. If you are talking about climate change, then you need to paint the picture of the pain that people are feeling, the pain that we're going through in the earth, before you can bring them through that. Because if you just come in all sunshine and roses, all above the line, then you're probably preaching to the converted or trying to influence the converted. So it is. So when I say review your keynote, whether it's your, or your social media, things like that, it's just, again, to have awareness about, okay, if you're using language that is below the line, or even an intention, or you want to shift people emotionally below the line, is there an actual conscious purpose behind that? Are you doing it for a reason? So there may be a point in your keynote where you really want to bring people down to a heavy place. Now, today, in this workshop, we brought you to a heavy, deep place. And that was intentional, because we needed to bring you into it in order to be able to bring you out of it. So there was some intentional below the line work that needed to be done to get you out the other side. So it's not saying that, because yeah, if your keynotes and everything you say is all sunshine and roses, is that going to be authentic to who you are? Especially when you talk about being vulnerable, if you want to share some of your life pain, some of your major experiences. So it's not a one size fits all. It's a consideration that you need to have, and it's just another lens to pass your content through, if that makes sense. Okay, thumbs up, good. Is there anything else? Because that was a really good question, because it is tying it not just to how we operate or how other people operate, but it is, yeah, into your content. Any other builds on that, or any other questions that came to mind from Laura's share there?
I have a question. So can you hear me, Diane?
Yes,
yeah.
Yeah.
So staying above the line. So how about when we have a negative experience? Okay, so we are at the workplace where we have a very negative experience. Somebody comes, yells at you, they have, they caused a lot of pain and distress to you, and then you as a team are trying to kind of recover and find a solution. So how do you stay above the line?
Okay, I'm just going to check, is Sumi's connection, did that come across clearly for everyone, or was it just wondering if it's my connection or Sumi? I got the essence of the question.
It was just a little bit background noise with her. Yeah.
Okay. So what I would say for that is, the first check-in point for any of these things is we can't change other people. Yes, we can influence them, but anytime we get to thinking about another person's perspective or where they are operating from, if you can shift that into taking personal responsibility or accountability, what is my role that I'm playing in this? How am I contributing to this problem? Then that is something that is a more effective place to operate from, because you're working within the realms of what you can and can't control, because you can control your own actions, you can control your own behavior. Whereas if you're operating below the line and maybe you're blaming your boss, you're, okay, I'll give you an example, real life example. When I had my corporate burnout, I could have blamed my manager. I could have blamed the organization. I could have blamed the team. I could have gone around and blamed everyone. Then I got made redundant and I could have had a whole other realm of blame that I wanted to do there. And I could have felt very justified in that, but that wouldn't have done me any good. But I looked at it to say, well, what was my role? And my role in it was I chose to stay there. I chose to go back every single day knowing that it wasn't a good work environment. I chose to work long hours. They didn't make me do any of these things, but that's kind of a real life example of if something is not a good situation, looking to yourself to say, well, what can I do? How can I operate above the line? And where am I operating below the line? And is there an action that I need to take to remove myself from that situation? Now that's different than looking at this from a speaker standpoint. That's like a real life or a workplace environment, but I think it's still important to just touch on it as well, because this is real life stuff, folks. And it all contributes to how we show up on stage. I hope that answers your question in some way or is some way helpful to me.
Yes. I saw your reaction, which was positive, which is quite impressive because we all go through difficult times and we either quit or we stick to it. We just go past it. So that's great. But what I was talking about is somebody else giving us a hard time and we are discussing. We as a team are trying to find ways of coping with it. So how do you elevate it? We are talking about, it's like somebody passing, you're talking about, somebody has passed away, how could you make it above the line,
And again, nothing in life is completely above the line. And human nature is human nature. And whether it's grief, whether it's pain, whether it's lashing out, no matter what it is, but a way of using this tool is bring it into your workplace and say, how can we as a team, where are we operating today? And everybody put a little sticky note on it. Oh, we're all operating below the line, or we think we are. Okay, how can we get it above the line? Just use it as a tool. You can do that with your kids. You can do that in a workplace environment, but I won't go into the details of that because this is, I guess the forum here is more about speakers and being able to present effectively. So having your energetic state as much above the line. But again, no matter what way you're looking at this, it's how do I get me, or if I'm a leader, how do I get my team elevated? And you don't have to have all the answers and you don't have to have everybody above the line all the time. It's a case of recognizing that, okay, if half of your team gets made redundant in the morning, trying to push everybody above the line is not going to help, because that's going to be trying to put a band-aid over something and not acknowledging the pain that people are feeling. So again, just looking at context and circumstance around that is really important as well. So there's a lot of variables. This is just a tool and a different lens to help you look at it in a different way. But again, if it's a team environment, get everybody involved. You have a bit of collaboration, get everybody to decide, well, where are we and where do we want to be? And that empowers people to get above the line as well. Thank you for that, Sumi. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next one. Let me just share here again, because this ties into something that we've already been talking about, which is the power of language. So we were talking there about, okay, if you're going to be presenting or if you're talking to yourself. So the power of language is something that directly contributes to your level of confidence and your level of certainty. So it has one has an impact on the other. But the power of language is so important. I want to look at the power of language to yourself, because we inhabit our own minds. The voice that we hear all day, every day is our own. And we're usually a lot nicer to other people than we are to ourselves. And a lot of our limiting beliefs will stem and perpetuate a bit of a voice that's going on in our head saying, oh, you're not good enough. Oh, you can't get on that stage. Oh, you definitely don't belong there. Oh, you don't have the expertise. All of that voice that goes on within our heads. So I want to explore this a little bit just around that internal voice. and how important that is. So just talk to me about what are some of the things that you are seeing as being detrimental to your confidence for your inner voice. And it can be a personal share, or it can be just something that is, okay, here's something that I see or notice in others.